Okay. So this is probably a topic that you've heard of before. Lundy, Matt, if I were to hint that the topic is something really fucking crazy involving Dungeons and Dragons, what would your immediate thought be as to what it is?
Probably something NFT related.
The problem is that there's like so many fucking weird ass Dungeons and Dragons stories that it could literally be fucking.
Like the two things that really spring to my mind right now is probably something NFT related. Because like I'll be honest, like I've kind of fallen. Like I still follow Pathfinder and stuff, but like kind of fallen off of like actual Dungeons and Dragons. But the only two things that could maybe like there's like the NFT stuff that Wizards of the Coast has been dabbling in recently. And then there was like some shit with Gary Gygax's son about, I don't know, he hated like gay people or something.
I don't know about that. I do know a decent bit about Gary Gygax himself, where apparently he was like
he was a weirdo.
He was a serial sexual harasser, apparently.
Look, every nerd was back then. Like, look.
No. I mean, like, up until, like, the year he died.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, this isn't a defense, by the way. But, again,
I'm not defending it, but
I am the person who says the point in society where it all fell apart is when we let the nerd win over the jock. The jock was cruel, but just. But there's a reason why the only rapist in Revenge of the Nerds is one of the fucking nerds.
Yeah,
nerds are a very rapey breed.
I've received a lot of stories about Gary Gygax going to fucking cons and just like grabbing literally every woman's ass that he sees, just like not even giving a shit.
And I mean, back in the day, he could, because there were probably like 3 women in Dungeons and Dragons at that point.
Oh, and well, the thing is like I said, he was doing this up until like the year he died. Like he would not stop. He was an old man just being like, let me get some of your fucking cheeks there, honey.
I remember when he died, everybody was sad.
Not his fucking co-creator partner.
No,
he fucking despised the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't blame him.
I don't
either. Knowing everything that I do about Gary now, and knowing like kind of like how he fucked him over, and just like I'm gonna go make.
That's usually how it always goes with like these like nerd pairs.
I'm gonna separate myself from you, and I'm gonna go make Blackmore because I'm really actually interested in expanding this game. Oh well, if you make anything, then that's D&D related, and I get to make money off of you. So go fuck yourself.
That's like usually the thing, right, with these creative nerd duos. There's usually like a creative and then the business one, and Gygax was the business. That's why, like, Gygax's name, it's like fucking plastered everywhere in Dungeons and Dragons history.
Anyway, cool
name, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Gygax is a really dope-ass name.
Apparently, his son was in the military, and, like, his son was, like, a part, like, his unit's name was, like, the fucking Dragons or some shit. And apparently that was entirely like I don't know if that was coincidental or not, but like I like to think that some dude was just like, is this guy's last name Gygax? Is he fucking related to Gary Gygax? And dude, we got to put him in the Dragon unit, dude. We gotta put him in the Dragon unit.
I never wanted a unit of the U.S. military to be hit collectively by all the IEDs at once. More. Just the mother of all bombs, but just fucking shrapnel.
And just on them. It affects nobody else, just them.
Anyways, go. So, yeah, me and Lundy are at a loss. So, what's up?
All right. So, there's a good chance you've heard of this. I don't know if you have or not, though. But, on the off chance you haven't, there is a game called F.A.T.A.L.
Oh
no!
I'm aware of this game system. Yes,
I sent that to you, Lundy. And if you want to read it as we go along, to just give a heads up to everybody, I saw some stuff about this and piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Yes, F.A.T.A.L.
Have a nice time.
Yes.
I'm gonna sit back like I usually do and just let you guys.
This is Fatal is fun. So actually, Matt, you give the backstory.
Real quick, well, you do the backstory, but before I want to just preface this with something. So, in like tabletop role playing, there's kind of like a contention for what's the best game nobody's ever played, and there's a lot of answers to this. Me personally, I think it's Rifts. Rifts has some really cool systems and some really cool lore, but like those books are fucking a nightmare to get through. Because half the time, like the dude Ryan goes into a political spiel about how much he hates Wizards of the Coast. But F.A.T.A.L is not one of those. F.A.T.A.L is probably the opposite. F.A.T.A.L is probably the worst game that no one has ever actually played.
The actual thing here is that if you do meet somebody who plays F.A.T.A.L, chances are good they're a bad person. Chances are good they're a very bad person.
Like this is something you couldn't even irony play.
So Lundy, what is F.A.T.A.L?
F.A.T.A.L is a special rule set and world that it was created for tabletop players. And it was meant to be the edgy, cool world where you could do all the crazy shit that all the other TTRPGs are too lame to not let you do. Like, rape people. Not that you can't do that, technically speaking, in plenty of other TTRPGs, but those don't create rule sets for rape. That's where they fail, you see.
Yeah, they're like, hey, what would make rape worse? I know. Let's draw it out with fucking math.
So would you like to read a little bit from this? This is from 1d4chan.org.
Yeah, that makes about sense. Do they mention, I don't know if you've read ahead on this, do they mention that when F.A.T.A.L first came out, there was like a review that a couple of TTRPG people did of the game system?
Yeah, they called it very gay.
And then the fucking the people who made it responded to it like a bunch of fucking sociopaths.
That I did not hear about. I'll see if I can find that.
So there was just long story short, F.A.T.A.L came out and a couple of people kind of like read through it and were like, this is fucking insane. And they posted like a funny little review on their like blog, and the F.A.T.A.L people did like a quote tweet before quote tweets were a thing on each bit of their blog, responding to every point. Whenever they would just get made fun of for being like overly fucking gross and shit like that, the F.A.T.A.L people would be like, can you give a substantial point instead of this moralizing nonsense?
Also, the other big thing with F.A.T.A.L is like mutil. That's like the big reason it's called F.A.T.A.L is because it's like, it's also a quote-unquote more, like, realistic, like, hardcore kind of rule set for... I think if I remember right, there's two versions of F.A.T.A.L. I think there's a RIPS version and a fucking D20 version of F.A.T.A.L. Like, the one that, like, we're reading from is the D20 version of F.A.T.A.L.
F.A.T.A.L review rebuttal.
You want to go over the mechanics and everything in it first on the article I sent first?
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, because we can skim over the mechanics fairly quickly. Because it is just bog standard D20 shit, but like, you know what it reminds me a lot of? And like, I'm not the first person to make this fucking joke, but it's a lot like fucking Varg's fucking dumb racist D&D fucking thing he does.
So we have the front cover. It's some guy with wings made of flesh, I guess, taking some weapon I don't recognize and trying to bash some smaller person with it.
God, this is taking me back to my glue huffing days. I remember just being on the Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons forums, just fucking like looking at this nonsense and laughing at it with other people.
While some naked lady is like reaching towards a bloody pickaxe, I guess, in some sort of fucking mine shaft. Not sure exactly what's going on in this picture, but I guess there's a lot of like killing. I don't know.
It looks like he's fist fighting a human spider hybrid.
Lundy.
Lundy.
Things
It's
open.
called F.A.T.A.L, and it's
Yeah.
art.
A copy of Fantasy Adventure to Adult Lechery is what would pop out of Sinch and Nurgle if they gang raped Slanesh while using Korn's chain hacks as a condom. This is not something that a normie would understand.
By the
You
way,
can't say
we
that.
have not mentioned.
Oh God! I guess it's 1d4.
We have not
Mark
mentioned
it,
yet.
no.
We have not mentioned yet that F.A.T.A.L is an acronym.
Oh yeah. Fantasy Adventure to Adult Lechery.
These assholes actually included the 2 in their fucking. That's like acronym 101 is like you don't include 2 or the or shit like that. Like what the fuck? So it should be F.A.L.
It is, in theory, an RPG that lets neckbeards live out their rape fantasies. The gaming community has more or less unanimously come to the conclusion that F.A.T.A.L, aka the date rape RPG without the dating, is simply the worst RPG ever conceived. At least those who haven't encountered Rahowa, but then that game is much less well known, so much the better for us. And in comparison, there have been actual documented attempts to actually play F.A.T.A.L, amazingly enough. Probably never in earnest, though. Perhaps even by its unhinged authors.
I had to fucking look up Rahowa real quickly, and it's like, oh my god, I remember Racial Holy War. This was another thing we would make fun of on the fucking forums back in the day.
What just happened?
Yeah, who dropped?
Sammy came in, muted for a little bit, and I guess he wanted to drop.
Right.
Okay.
Fuck it.
F.A.T.A.L is truly a blasphemous merger of metal and fail, and of John Norman. The rulebook, written by one Byron Hall and a few of his friends who go by nicknames such as Torturon, Burnout, and Satan, is a terribly mechanically written...
Luddy. Please put fucking Torturon in one of your D&D games. Please. I did just have like the lamest of liches be like, I am Torturon.
I am Torturon.
And like all the other villains are like, look at this fucking dork.
It is as terribly mechanically written as it is obsessed with bizarre sexual perversions that make /D seem prudish by comparison. It's filled with enough pointless random charts and obscure rules to deter even a veteran DM who has played Rollmaster for years. Quadratic equations are a requirement of most game mechanics. The anal circumference table meme originates with F.A.T.A.L. This game was apparently revised and given a new name for the acronym from Another Time, Another Land. Makes minor changes to the text, removes the racist magical armor, but is still an abortion of gaming. The F.A.T.A.L Games website is now thankfully defunct. The current page is your average parked domain crap. However, some fine gentlemen at the Wayback Machine have archived all of its neon on black plastered with animated GIFs glory, enter at your own risk. It sparked a review by McLennan and Sarton, which was really more of a profanity-laden rant, admittedly a common reaction to the game, and this review, in turn, provoked a rebuttal from the game's creators. Reading the exchange between the two is almost guaranteed to cause brain damage. To sum it up, the reviewers spent most of their time talking about the various kinds of torture that would be preferable to playing the game, and the various kinds of torture they like to inflict on its creator, and how mentally ill and or socially awkward they imagine its creators to be, and so on. Though legitimate criticisms were also made, which anyone could say would justify their invective. See mechanics section down below, or don't if you'd rather preserve your last shriveled speck of faith in humanity.
Would you like me to read the first paragraph on the F.A.T.A.L website?
Please.
I'd also like to point out before I start this, it's in classic flaming text font with red on black with a big yellow click here now button in the center. F.A.T.A.L is a role-playing game like no other. It is the goal of F.A.T.A.L games to astound and thrill those who seek a role-playing game based on historical and mythological accuracy, realism, and detail.
I'm
Most
imagining like a ringmaster giving out this spiel, by the way.
Most of the game is already written, and it will be published in the near future.
I love that. Like, oh yeah, we have. God, the more things fucking change, the more they stay the same, huh? Like, used to be you could do this shit for free, being like, hey, we're gonna make a weird fucking rape game, but now, like, you gotta do a fucking GoFundMe or a Patreon or Kickstarter or something to bulk some rubes out of their money. Shit was simpler back then. It was a better time.
It was. We got shit like Fatal for free that we could just like laugh at.
You know what? Bring back W. 4 more years.
All right, would you like to go over the settings of the game, or would you like to go over...
Let's go. The setting's not long. Setting. Want the details? You do. Courtesy of the 1D4 authors who had to pause for throwing up many times over many months. Here we go. It is pre-Christian Europe, more specifically a hodgepodge of medieval Europe and the Roman Empire with a bit of Semitic cultural immigration. Nephilim, or Anakim, exist as winged, sexy humans. The closest thing to
so that must be like
God,
the bat-winged fucking mohawk dipshit on the cover.
Yep. The closest thing to the Judeo-Christian God is actually the result of a normal spell that makes a bush burn with magical fires in perpetuity and gives cryptic answers along with I am what I am, suggesting Moses just did a random spell and thought it was Yahweh speaking.
The Popeye bush.
It is a mix of Rome's darkest stereotypes meets Viking myths, but every race is fucktarded as the creators. The Anakim are almost all slaves, even though their extreme stats can easily earn them a dominant position in society. Their males have enormous penises and random quirks that make them fit for a horror game rather than an erotic fantasy. Their females being shapely sluts with similar weird shit going on. The bugbears are Bronze Age Vikings that got so edgy that they would make drow tails seem tame by comparison. Raping everyone they don't kill in coastal raids and taking the survivors in processing centers. Slave pits with extremely torturous work pits with no productivity in mind, but making the worst piss shit torture dehumanization porn play in a game that is full of that crap.
Man, drow tails is a thing I have not thought about in years.
Human women die 100% in stillborn childbirth raped by bugbears, but they keep them from killing themselves just for fun. Bugbear scientists vivisect and rape human slaves for education, and magic is state monopolized. And bugbear clans support bugbear criminals raping and killing in other races' land. Bugbear women have no names, and daughters are brought to adolescence by their fathers. Quote unquote. Light elves are relatively tame, but they still beat the shit out of trespassers and starve criminals slowly to death. And women have to play a flute as they are getting fucked to determine the child's character.
To be fair, that last one, that could honestly be in a lot of weird fantasy novels.
Yeah, it could. I guess that's the only one that actually makes me go, really?
It's all like right. That. That's actually like, oh, that's a weird bit of cultural interest with the elves,
huh? Dark elves have weekly masturbation contests and live under trees and rape and kill trespassers and fuck each other's asses, anal only, in massed gatherings. That's about right, though.
Wait,
like,
why do they have to?
Outside of the fact they live under trees. It's basically drow.
Wait, no, they did the Eberron drow before fucking Eberron did.
Subterranean trolls have a punishment system of hitting genitals with a hammer. Male trolls have to kidnap a human woman as a slave present to be enslaved, raped, killed, eaten. And if the female refuses the gift, the male takes the woman to be dismembered alive. Ogres are cannibals. I don't know much about this setting, but that sounds really tame compared to everything else. Hill trolls are sick fucks that get hard.
That's like literally every ogre.
Yeah, that's just ogres. They just eat people. Hill trolls are sick fucks that get hard touching the brains of caught and slaughtered humans and like to fuck brain matter and the corpses before eating them. Okay.
Yeah, that one is weird.
Humans are no better. Being caught performing magic means getting raped and burned alive publicly. Butchers regularly add human meat from cheaper slaves and dead humans to pork mix. Brothels and slavery is rampant, and even the priests join nightly gang rape groups that are neither prosecuted, nor stigmatized, nor punished. Gore, cannibalism, slavery, /D, racism, Pentifica. Magical realm at its finest. Lots of rape. Lots and lots of rape. Mechanics. How does this game play, you might ask yourself? The GM is called the F.A.T.A.L because it's an actual Latin word for Master of the Colosseum games, or Game Master for short. What is with authors of explicitly smutty RPG materials like this and the Book of Erotic Fantasy that they have to be pretentious dicks about it? Answer, because in the original version he was, wait for it, the Main Master.
Oh, real quick, before you continue,
Mhm.
I have something to play in the background here.
By the way, Lundy Torchitron's title should be the Main Master.
I have a song for us to listen to while you're reading this off.
Foolish heroes, do you not realize who you're going against? I am Torchitron, the Main Master.
I think this song will suit what you're talking about really well. You ready?
Yeah. Torchitron, Main. God.
What is this song?
Continue.
All right. The intro says you need to know a little algebra, and even that is relatively rare. It also says you need 2d10. Both of these are filthy fucking lies. Ability scores are derived from averaging sub-abilities, rolled as 10d100, divided by 5 minus 1, and modified by one of 3 different types of percentages. And conditions during the game may change your sub-abilities, which means you need to recalculate your ability scores on the fly. Ability score checks are 3d10, so you do need more than 2 dice.
Matt, what do you think of the song?
Sounded muted. What?
Turn it on. What do you think of the song?
Yeah, that sounds fat.
This is legitimately the actual official theme song of F.A.T.A.L. from their official website.
That's amazing.
Sorry, continue.
Apparently you'll need this quote-unquote little algebra because you solve quadratic formulas to find out whether or not your rape slave is pregnant. You then roll d10 million to find out if she's going to have quintuplets. The character sheet is 11 pages long. There are 20 sub-abilities, including enunciation and spatial intelligence. Also note by this point in character gem, you have already rolled your 2d10 80 times, which determine 5 ability scores. The ethics system is a D&D good, evil, lawful, chaotic, using ethics, which is described vaguely differently from morals, both of which are based on butchered readings of Aristotelian philosophy. 4 different temperament scores based on bodily humor. By the way, the book dedicates 23 pages to describing your alignment alone. A primary and secondary temperament in addition to that, and a disposition that is different from that too, which is another 22 pages long. On the second page of the character sheet are the following essential measurements: manhood length, manhood circumference, anal circumference, anal circumference potential.
How wide can it go?
Vaginal circumference potential.
Did you remove it?
No, I didn't do shit. Vaginal depth potential, areola diameter, nipple length, cup size, tongue size, hymen resistance, areola hue, foot size, fist circumference, head circumference, handedness. These measurements are essential because during combat, your roll may cause you to accidentally start raping your opponent. And how many hit points they lose depends on the mismatch between the circumference of your appendage and their orifice. In case you missed some of that, it is possible to accidentally rape the opponent to death during normal combat. Then you have to roll for other things, like your height and weight, and then calculate your BMI based on those. Most and least attractive features, hair color, skin color, visual acuity, age, which also acts as a modifier to all those abilities and sub-abilities, forcing you to go back and change all those stats again. A check to see if your intelligence score is low enough to qualify for retard strength bonuses. Your birthday, social class, birthplace, number of siblings, and marital status. In other words, roll randomly for just about everything that any other game system would just allow the player to choose for themselves. In the unlikely event that they desperately needed to know the precise size of your foot to the nearest hundredth of an inch.
You've been amazing. If you could just observe these fucking guys meeting and talking about this and coming up with this shit.
I mean, I'd be fucking down.
I wouldn't want to meet
a fly on the wall while they're discussing why all of these fucking things are important.
I wouldn't even want to be a fly on the wall. I would just like some closed circuit television kind of stuff.
just have it recorded.
Because I'm curious about this. How many of the creators of this turned into rapists?
I would not be surprised if at least most of them turned out to be rapists. Or abusers, or just like someone who's assaulted someone, you know, just violent people, period. Just generally speaking. That's who we're talking about here. Among the 418 skills each character must keep track of are basket weaving, clock making, delousing, glove making, massage, spitting, and even urinating. Yes, pissing is a skill. And you can fail your rolls to piss. Which, as you can see in the last section, is far more complex than they could possibly need to be. A character's body has...
To be fair, I have failed rolls to piss before.
Yeah, but that's like aiming to piss, you know? Not like, oh, well, I just can't get it out now.
No, there were times where I was drunk enough where it's just like, oh, fuck it, I guess I'm going to just do a Liam Neeson, just piss my pants.
Well, that's succeeding to piss. You can succeed to piss, you can just piss in your pants. Among the 400... sorry, I already read that part. The character's body has 17 hit locations, each with independent hit point totals, each with their own armor equipment slots, and each with the 17 pieces of armor have 4 different types of damage resistance: brawling, hacking, pounding, and stabbing. Magical items range from mostly useless to the suicidally dangerous to the completely insane. Here's a list of notable ones. Filter of insert race name here, lust. Drink this and every being of that race within within 100 feet will automatically try to fuck you. Cloak of self-craving. The wearer will try to perform...
Wait, why did they drink?
I guess it enchants everyone else when you drink it. Like it like causes you to like emit some sort of fucking, I don't know, crazy magical sex pheromone that only affects those people. I don't fucking know, Matt.
That's dumb.
Yeah, no shit, Matt. That's the whole point. This is fucking stupid. Cloak of self-craving. The wearer will try to perform oral sex on themselves, possibly breaking their neck in the process.
Why is it a cloak and not a necklace?
I don't know.
Again, that's dumb.
Chastity belt of cursed impregnation. The wearer is instantly knocked up. The difference between this and the uncursed version is that the cursed version always makes the unborn child a girl.
The worst fate imaginable.
Now the cursed version should be like, oh, it makes a demon baby.
Well, no,
and it comes out your butt. So it's a
Just-
demon. It's the devil's sodomy
Out your
baby.
asshole.
Matt, you're not quite there, but you're in the ballpark. Foreshadowing. Continue, Lundy.
Jar of jacking off.
Speaking of that,
Whenever a male opens this jar, they must pass a drive sub-ability check at TH80 or be compelled to force their fuck stick into the jar. Once inside, the jar will inexplicably grip it firmly and jerk it to completion, even against the will of the opener. Upon completion, the comer must roll percentile dice. If the results are 1 through 10, then the jar becomes pregnant. If the jar is pregnant, it will not allow itself to be opened, but will care for the fetus within, which will be heard screaming by others within 1d100 feet day and night. After 9 months of fetal torture, the child will be born and the jar will break. If the jar is broken during its pregnancy, then the dying and twitching fetus will explode after 1d6 rounds of twitching. Well, this is interesting, Matt. So you could fuck the jar, and then you could like throw the jar at a group of people, and then like a tiny like.
I'm gonna be honest.
psycho.
The jar jacket off is actually very interesting. There's a lot of interesting game mechanic possibilities with it.
The explosion of the fetus causes 1d4 life points of sonic damage to all within 1d4
that's pretty
miles.
good. Sonic damage is pretty good.
Baby parts are inexplicably everywhere. When born, the baby will be unethical, immoral, translation chaotic evil, will serve their father loyally. Well, then that's not chaotic. God damn it. Will obsessively collect jars and seem to be male but have no penis, but oversized testicles, which can never ejaculate. Therefore, this child will be forever frustrated. Any child of a jar will insist that others call them Chucky.
I'm gonna be honest, like I kind of like the jar jerking off.
It's the randomness. Why do they gotta be called Chucky?
Lundy, you should put the jar. Don't call it the jar jerking off, but this needs like with some rework. This could be a very fun thing in a D&D
game. Do you guys like exploding fetuses?
Like it has amazing setup of like, oh, this one character magically got compelled to fuck a jar, and then 9 months later, like a little jar-collected demon fetus with tanuki nuts comes rolling up and is like, "Hello, father, I will serve you."
What do I call you, boy? Call me Chucky. The seed of hate. Planting this seed in front of a druid's house causes a tree to grow that makes everything hate the druid in question. The only way to kill a tree that results from this seed is for the druid to have anal sex with random animals until he sows a seed of love. This may cause him to develop a bestiality fetish.
Alright, we're back to the retarded ones now, I guess.
Yeah. Mirror of Many, a ripoff of the mirror from Evil Dead. Ring of the Lords, literally just the one ring. Cursed dildo of impregnation. The user is impregnated with another dildo, which is likely to kill her. So wait, so the dildo, so you use the dildo on someone, and then they become pregnant with a dildo, which then kills them.
Yeah.
Insert weapon here of ravishing. The user will occasionally try to rape random women with the weapon, which will somehow impregnate them with another rapist weapon that kills them upon giving birth to it. How do you survive getting raped with a fucking
Wow, I
weapon.
just read the one after this one. Oof.
Oh boy! Oh boy, that
Let's
one
Oh
and another one after
no!
that.
Oh
Oh,
no!
there's a
I
lot
just
of
read.
ooh,
I
there's a
just
lot of
read.
this. There's a lot of this.
Let's go.
Oh, I just read 2 down.
Yeah. Army of Jewy Chewbacca.
This is where we fucking hit the real shit.
Whosoever dons this armor will acquire a nose twice the size, and a manhood half the size. Further,
This is the moment that it becomes a cum town bit.
Further, the wearer will become extremely greedy and fight to the death for 1 silver piece. Finally, the wearer requires 2 inches of hair all over their body, resulting in having their facial charisma and bodily attractiveness being halved. While hairy, the wearer must bathe every 1d6 hours or smell foul. There are 3 other armors just like this, which turn the wearer into an ethnic stereotype with no benefits whatsoever. According to Byron, this was supposed to just be controversial humor. The other armors are the armor of niggerish nincompoopery.
Yeah.
Whosoever dons this armor experiences a loss of 1d100 points from each sub-ability of intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. The ass of the wearer will grow by 50% and be abnormally high. If the wearer is male, then those around him are 80% likely to believe that his manhood has increased, though it is not. Wait, why does the Jew have to have their fucking manhood cut in half, but the black guy doesn't actually get a bigger dick? That's gay.
It's because these fuckers are racist.
You gotta go with the easy one.
I'm not even fucking gonna, like, humor them on this one. Like, fucking, when you are even more racist than your fucking Dungeons and Dragons ripoff than Varg Vickers is, like, what the fuck?
The skin of the wearer becomes cursed in dark as night. Disposition turns to UI.
Oh yeah, this reminds me, Lundy, I made a Mr. Popo in Xenoverse. It's probably not the best time to bring this up, but
I mean, I can see why it would remind you.
Look, as soon as I saw that you could have, like, the big lips, I was like, oh, I could just make my skin completely black and just make Mr. Popo. This will be fun. And then I made him, and then I was like, oh yeah, this character gets shared out to everybody else. I'm going to delete him.
So it was just your personal little project that you deleted after you got done.
Yeah. It's like, you know how everybody, when back in the days when the Wii was the big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody made a Hitler me.
Of course.
Every person on the planet. I'm pretty sure every person in Xenoverse at least once was like, oh, I'm going to make a Mr. Popo Super Saiyan. Oh, this feels wrong.
Somebody out there is playing with a Mr. Popo Super Saiyan. Somebody's doing it.
I kind of want to remake him again.
The eyes of the wearer are visible 3 miles away at night. The wearer will also have body odor for 1d10 feet. On the bright side, the physical fitness of the wearer increases by 10%. The armor may be removed at will. Also, the name translates to armor of nigger retardation. Armor of Gookums. Whosoever dons this armor experiences an increase of 1d20 points of intelligence in each sub-ability and is reduced to 80% of natural height. The eyelids of the wearer will swell as though hit with a maul, and vision is reduced to 25%.
Oh, there you go, Lundy.
Most importantly, the manhood or cup size is reduced to 50%. Strangely, the ass of the wearer will shrink, drop, and droop. Armor of Grecians. Whosoever wears this armor acquires hair that is greasy and dark. They lose half of their drive sub-ability and are reduced 90% of their natural height and 80% likely to beat their spouse if they have one, and will magically be magically unemployed for 1d100 days. I'm sorry. You just get magically unemployed. You just wear the armor and your boss is
Yeah, I'm sorry, sorry, Dragnor, the defensible. You're a really good captain of the guards, but you became Italian, so we gotta fucking fire you now.
We don't really have an option on this. It's just how it is.
Magic and whatnot.
Really wish we could keep you, but
we live in a really dumb world made by dumb fucking cruel gods.
It's amazing that we're all alive right now, to be honest with you.
You know, it'd actually be great if you did like a self-aware kind of like you know the Joel Haver fucking like first time you played an RPG kind of bits.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just made like something like that, but with like characters who are like self-aware in like a shitty Dungeons and Dragons game, like they know, like look, our real god is just some fucking idiot. We're literal fucking playthings for morons.
Just a bunch of Deadpools just running around.
Yeah. And they can't really do anything because, you know, they're not real, so they're just resigned to their fate.
That would be your quest. Find some way to escape the game so that you can go beat the shit.
You know, I said it was a funny sketch, but the more I say of it, it's more depressing. Yeah.
Depressing. Insert weapon here of Torturetron. It's spelled Torturon, but I'm calling him Torturetron. The wielder becomes obsessed with removing his victim's eyes and shoving him into his nose, the victim's nose, not the wielder's, and then takes up sunbathing naked on top of cottages. What? The wielder becomes obsessed with removing a victim's eyes and shoving them into their nose, and then they take up sunbathing on top of cottages naked. All right, well, I guess Torchutron's into fucking sunbathing naked. I didn't need to know that, but all right, fair enough. The magic system of this particular game is split into ceremonial magic, which is situational at best and often utterly useless for doing anything you might actually need to do. Chaos magic, which requires you to perform a ritual that requires a roll on a large-ass syllable chart in case it requires a chant to perform, some random ingredients you might not be able to acquire, and can take days to perform the required ritual. And an example of a few spells follow. Italicized spell names are ceremonial magic and everything else is chaos magic. Against every wild animal, aquatic creature, and robbers. This spell keeps wild animals, aquatic creatures, and robbers away from you. Everything else that can kill you can still do so. Call God. Summons a god. The rulebook specifically states that whatever god in question will not be happy about being summoned and will probably kill the caster. Jesus Christ. Eternal spell for binding a lover. Smear the listed ingredients on the head of your dick, and when you fuck someone with it, they'll beg you to stick it in them at least once a day. Numerous other quote-unquote love spells with similar effects are also present. Fatal. Kills everything on whatever horrid world the game takes place on, including the user. Force fart. Forces the target to fart, obviously.
Oh man, I was hoping it would be like a magic missile kind of fart.
Have her cadaver. Cast this on a dead woman and she'll look, sound, smell, taste, and feel just like she was alive but unconscious. The spell description explicitly states that this is meant to aid in necrophilia. Oroanal. The victim's mouth now doubles as their anus. The effects of this spell are permanent.
See, that could be just like a fun, like, character quirk in a game. Like, oh, I got cursed by the gods and now I just poop out my mouth. Excuse me for a second.
Just like that South Park episode.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for saving the town or whatever.
I'm not really all that into it because the whole curse shitting out in the mouth.
I've kind of checked out a long time. One second.
Yeah,
You gotta excuse me. I had beans last night.
I need to.
A lot of fiber.
I need to wipe.
That's all we fucking grow here is beans and prunes. Honestly, I kind of wish you let the town fucking get killed by those orcs. It would have ended this mockery that is my. Oh man, I love this character now. This unnamed mayor of this prune and bean filled town that has just been cursed the shit out of his mouth. I love him.
Prognathism. The target's skull becomes prognathous. The lower half extends, the upper half retracts, intelligence sub-abilities are reduced by 15%, and the target's speech will become quote-unquote slang.
So it's literally just a phrenology spell.
Yeah. Wish. Exactly like the D&D version, but the GM is encouraged to be as literal as possible, even just picking a definition of a word at random if a word has multiple definitions. I guess some DMs do that anyway.
Yeah.
Then there are miscast tables, which have a variety of notably bizarre effects, including, but certainly not limited to, the next shit you take is going to come to life and try and kill you. Fruit growing out of the caster's penis and vagina, which can be consumed for stat bonuses. Gay ogres popping out of nowhere and trying to have butt sex with everyone nearby. A scratch and sniff vagina appears on the caster's head. An eyeball appears on the caster's penis and can somehow act as a lie detector. The target's skin turns black. GM may decide appropriate penalties, quote unquote. A gerbil falls out of the target's asshole. The nearest woman is convinced that her name is Contrina and insists that everyone refer to her as such. A disembodied penis with wings appears and tries to rape everything nearby. Accidentally consuming the enemy while being raped. Accidentally cast the F.A.T.A.L spell. Classes are no less peculiar. They range from the standard fare of warriors, mages, and the like to things which no sane person would play, like delousers, ink makers, and of course, just whores, who get a longer write-up than most other classes combined, save for the ones that with giant tables. Every class earns AP, the equivalent of experience points, in different ways, and in some cases is earned so slowly that a character, or even their player, can die of old age before they even reach level 2. Too long, didn't read. It takes all of the overcomplexity of World of Cinnabar, which I shit you not had an equation to show how hard you could breathe, took out the lore, classes, just about everything else that made Cinnabar worth a damn, added so much sexual perversion that the introduction has the balls to claim all of it as only present just because it's historical and mythical relevance, that would make Slaanesh look twice and shout out one of the worst RPG systems ever conceived.
I don't even think Slaanesh would like this shit.
Slaanesh would find it to be juvenile, in my opinion. So now we have the F.A.T.A.L review rebuttal. So as was mentioned, a couple of people made a review where they talked about how much they would prefer to do literally anything else other than play this game. And the F.A.T.A.L folks decided to respond.
I mean, I guess it's good they only responded through, like, comments on a forum and not by killing a cat or something.
So I don't want to go through the whole thing, we'll go ahead and do it this way. I think. How's this? Because here's the thing. It's two people. They're differentiated by green text and pink text, and then the black text is the response. Mm-hmm. So how about we do this? I'm going to link this. Go. Why don't you be the green or the pink, and I will be the black.
There is no God, and the proof of this can be found in a PDF file from F.A.T.A.L Games.
I wish that were true.
Faggot. If this is the first time that you've ever heard of F.A.T.A.L, you're in for a fun ride. Well, let me rephrase. You're in for a fun ride. If you consider a fun ride to be, say, hitting your nutsack with a tack hammer for about 4 hours. The nutsack tack hammer thing wouldn't be a fun ride, but it is preferable to actually playing F.A.T.A.L. Oh, hi, I'm Jason Sutton.
This game is a bunch of diarrhea dookie coming out of my ass while a camel shits a cactus in my face.
Oh, I'm Jason Sutton. You may remember me from classic RPGNet moments as the longest fucking Censor review ever, and all those humanity-hating and go kill yourself already posts I leave on tangency. I'll be helping.
Might remind me from Minecraft Steve Goes Mad.
I'll be helping Darren a lot with this review because friends don't let friends review F.A.T.A.L alone.
I'll be honest, I hate these guys now too.
Yeah.
Also, this is obviously going to be one of those grandstanding spectacle reviews that try to be crowd pleasing. Those of you who hate that kind of review should do the honorable thing and wind your asses off in the form below.
So, Jason establishes his credibility, or lack thereof, and delivers, as promised, a review congruent with his humanity-hating and kill-yourself reputation. As I said, his arguments lack substance, but readers will see that soon. Could his approach be considered juvenile? Ask yourself this question again later.
Remember, Lundy is the guy who made F.A.T.A.L.
Yeah.
Lundy is the guy who was like, you know, it'd be funny if I had some armor called the armor of nigger retardation.
You think I'm joking?
I'm calling people fucking juvenile.
You think I'm joking? You think that I'm exaggerating for comic effect? But you will be nodding your head with agreement and also holding your swollen, bruised nutsack if you ever happen to open the F.A.T.A.L PDF up and give it anything but the most cursory of read-throughs.
By the way, Darren fails to properly introduce himself. He's a moderator at RPG.net and therefore represents their online community. Obviously, he's entertained with the thought of male readers hitting their swollen, bruised nutsacks with a tack hammer. Consider the credibility or lack thereof of Darren. Consider the credibility or lack thereof of RPG.net as he represents them.
It's not joking, people, and I wasn't either. Those of you wondering what the most ass-tastic RPG of all time would look like, the one whose suck factor for forever demolish all challenges and tower over the ages with all the majesty of homeless, mindless, drooling, ship-obsessed, impotent morons standing on the mountain of used Dragon Ball Z condoms, finally die in peace. The arguments are over. Anything who says anything else is the worst RPG ever, well, I'll inject kerosene into my bladder, piss on them, and then set them on fire. This game sucks that much.
Burnout, one of the co-creators, says,
This game... Go just like being racist to a race that doesn't even exist.
I find the wording that Sartine uses here to be very contradictory to his review. Just remember his statement, well, I'll inject kerosene into my bladder, piss on them, and set them on fire.
It's like in a fucking shitty, that guy with the glasses ripoff guy who has like a single scene. Like, we'll get back to this later.
Every single time a fucking person on YouTube is just like, put that in your bonnet. We'll get back to that in a minute. And it's like, could you just address it now?
God fucking damn it. We hardly 4 words in this review, and already the game has dragged me down to its level.
Any child can rant. What matters is the quality of the argument. Jason is not being dragged anywhere, but responds like this because
He
it
is not, in fact, actually being physically dragged. This
Yes, indeed.
cretin. So why is it so bad?
Do tell.
Because it's the Necronomicon of role-playing games. Not in the cool way, where it's the source of occult knowledge with a terrible, terrible price. It's the Necronomicon in the sense that if you leave a printed copy on your shelf with other RPGs, then the other RPGs will be clustered around the dead, violated body of one of its own in the morning. I'm pressing myself into my own shin as hard as possible. F.A.T.A.L will be most likely beat down all the station at the sex crimes interrogation room, trying its best to put on the innocent face and failing miserably. Another youthful comparison that F.A.T.A.L is basically anti-thought. As you can already see, it reacts violently with real sentience.
As opposed to unreal sentience, I'm getting bored looking for an argument.
While we're on it, if you can cue up Optimistic by Radiohead, you'll have a good idea of how the both of us feel right now.
I'm unfamiliar with that song. I prefer to listen to much more musically complicated bands and artists.
Yeah.
Musically complicated. Kill people.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the fact that everyone in this conversation is like 35 minimum.
when this happened, which was like fucking 20 years ago.
Yeah, like 2003.
They are now all in their 50s or 60s.
They're in their retirement home right now.
Playing F.A.T.A.L.
Playing F.A.T.A.L.
More likely dead or in jail.
So one of the sort of over-encompassing arguments here is that F.A.T.A.L advertises itself as the most historically and mythically accurate game. I don't know what mythically accurate means.
Oh my fucking god.
But the group, the reviewers are like, well, this isn't historically accurate. This isn't historically accurate. This isn't historically accurate. There's a lot of historical inaccuracies in this supposed accurate game. And the responses generally have been, well, it's more historically accurate than any other game that's out right now, even though literally nobody is trying to go for that. And then they would say things like, well, it's accurate given the premises, like the fact that the gods are real and people know about them. Then we go based off of that. And it's like, how the fuck can you know that? How the fuck do you know how the world would act if these things were true? Your world building is ass. Why is there a bunch of ogres that rape people? Not ogres, hill trolls that rape people and eat their brains. Why do they eat their brains? Why is human brains a delicacy for hill trolls? Why is it not just, meat? I just don't get it.
Go to the bottom of the page and look in the bottom left corner.
Go to part 2. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's the
Wait
same.
A minute. This is only part 2 of 5.
Yeah, it's the same length for each page, by the way. I'm going, oh my fucking god.
Holy shit.
Can you imagine, like, the hours that had to be spent, like, writing this out?
Yeah, how fucking ridiculously pointless. Like, I'm not reading all of this. Go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna.
If anyone believes in Immaculate Conception, they are naive and primitive.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read that. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're fucking great rape tabletop guy.
Let it be known that I do not hate Darren and Jason for their emotional approach and poor reasoning. Instead, I feel sorry for them. Just the same, I am grateful for the 8 actual mistakes they identified, even if it did take them 25,000 words, according to MS Word, and hundreds of thousands of mistakes. To recap, their valid points were: aging effects should be percentages, Anakim traits should include bod at modifiers, hymen resistance should be affected by manhood, bandaging wounds in combat on the table, 1 meter equals 3.28 feet for falling damage, and the extraction of Christianity and foreign influences should be explained more clearly. Brazier, not Brazier, and the and to avoid the potential of racism. I am fair. Since Darren and Jason did affect the game's development by pointing out 8 mistakes, they can be listed in the credits if desired. F.A.T.A.L is the best role-playing game that there could be. Byron Hall. April 17th of 2003.
Byron Hall was found dead.
Final thoughts on F.A.T.A.L.
Absolutely needlessly complicated game in order to put rape in TTRPGs, which you can have if that's what your group wants. It's whatever. Like, honestly, that's probably the thing that pisses me off the most about this is like they really, really just wanted a rape game. But it's like, you can do that. You just don't need to have a big old rule set for it. That's the thing that fucking pisses me off.
Keep it simple, stupid.
It shows a complete lack of creativity when you try to reduce literally everything in a game to the numbers. There's loads of shit that you can do that you don't have to fucking roll for.
Lundy goes on record as pro rape.
Do you guys recall that one fucking like computer like weird website game where you were like a dude and you had to like try and run, but like literally every limb had a button? Yeah. Quap. So it's like that. It's fun for the novelty, but if that's the way that you actually had to run in an actual game that required you to do other shit, you'd be like, fuck that. That's fucking stupid. This is essentially Quap, but for rape.
That is a hell of a review. Matt, what's your review?
It's bad.
All right. Short and sweet. I like it.